So let's start with the stimulus this morning. Mitch McConnell basically killing the latest stimulus, putting forth a ridiculous little dog and pony show yesterday on the Senate floor, $500 billion Senate bill that he knew would have no votes and would never see the light of day. Was not going to do anything to help the American people. And yet that's what unfolded in the Senate yesterday. At this point, you're probably hearing stories like we've been reporting here on the show, how Nancy Pelosi and the White House are inching closer to a stimulus deal. Mark Meadows has been tweeting about it. Stephen Mnuchin has been meeting with Nancy Pelosi. It seems like positivity is coming out of those negotiations. So why is Mitch McConnell basically about to throw cold water on the whole thing? Well, let's analyze this, shall we? Because this is shaping up to be exactly what happens. No stimulus before Election Day if Mitch McConnell gets his way. And the number one reason, and Washington Post tackled this story this morning, and not surprising, he doesn't want to pass something ambitious because the number one reason is because it would disrupt the Senate's plans to confirm Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court next week. By not passing something now, basically, McConnell leaves open the possibility that if Trump is reelected, then Republicans can do something bigger to boost the economy under a continuing GOP presidency. So we might get a stimulus sometime over the next few months if there's a lame duck presidency. That's kind of the argument here. But the biggest story is the Supreme Court. And Mitch McConnell's legacy is tied to making that Supreme Court a 6-3 conservative majority in the Supreme Court. And any disruption to this right now before the election is a non-starter for Mitch McConnell. So derailing the Senate confirmation hearings next week to go through and push this through to get Amy Coney Barrett confirmed is a non-starter for him. There's a number of different reasons that Mitch McConnell is wanting to kill this stimulus. Number one, he could do all he possibly can to kill the stimulus before the election, because then it's going to bring parties together. It's going to undermine the base. That's the argument, that Republicans in these kind of, these vulnerable districts are going to somehow lose the re-election because their base would be upset. This is what the New York Times says about this. I just find this argument ridiculous. It's true, though. Normally the New York Times is full of crap. This is actually accurate, though. Here's what the New York Times says. Republicans also fear that a vote on such a measure would force vulnerable senators who are up for re-election into a difficult choice of openly defying the president or alienating their base by embracing the big spending bill that he has demanded. That is what the New York Times says. That's actually true. So they have a fear of alienating a base, but really the base isn't the voters. Alienating their big donors. That's what they're really talking about. When you talk about the base, they're not talking about voters. Because right now, an overwhelming number of Americans, even among conservatives, upwards of 60% of Republicans support a $2 trillion stimulus. Republicans support a stimulus just as much as Democrats do in this country. I don't care what your politics are. Like, if you're watching this right now, let me know in the chat below. Are you conservative? Are you liberal? Are you in the middle? Do you support a stimulus? I bet the numbers are going to be pretty overwhelming. So who would you be alienating? What conservative is going to say, hey, Senator, I was going to vote for you, but you provided extra money for me and my family that we could pay our bills. So, I know it goes against my conservative judgment right now for the government to spend money on its people, so I'm just not going to vote for you. That's not what they're talking about. What the New York Times is talking about is they're worried about alienating their big donors who don't want them negotiating and collaborating with Democrats and Nancy Pelosi. So the New York Times is 100% accurate on this. It's just that they're wrong in thinking that the base is just humans or constituents. It's big donors. The other scenario here that's playing out in front of us right now is that Mitch McConnell will do anything he can to kill this stimulus before Election Day, because the upside for him to kill it is far greater than the downside. Because if he kills it right now, then it shows that he's not collaborating with Nancy Pelosi. His big money, big energy, big oil donors don't want him to do that in the first place. And then if President Trump wins, then there will probably be a sizable stimulus that they will pass with a united GOP after the election with a majority support. That's what's going to happen. The third scenario is that if Biden wins, which signs are pointing more and more heavily that Joe Biden is going to win, then they will do exactly what they did under President Trump, Mitch McConnell will, which is obstruct and not do anything to push forward any kind of agenda. So Biden presidency would want some sort of larger stimulus is not going to happen. Mitch McConnell's not going to go along with it and be conciliatory and want to work with the American people to get a stimulus through. Not going to happen. And the fourth scenario is that if Biden wins and Democrats take the Senate, then we would actually get a large stimulus in the new year. Vice President Biden has already said that, if they don't pass a stimulus when he gets into office in January, they will pass a stimulus without the help of the Republicans in the Senate. So, yes, by all accounts, Mitch McConnell is killing any hope of a stimulus right now. Yesterday, they put forward their little $500 billion dog and pony show that he knew wouldn't pass, and it didn't. You heard Chuck Schumer yesterday talking about what a joke it was and what a political stunt this thing was by bringing this thing to the floor of the Senate. And by all accounts, it really was. It was a total joke, and it was a stunt, and he knew exactly what was going to happen, and it was not going to pass.
We have so many different problems. And what do the Republicans do, Leader McConnell? A stunt. They can't get anything done. Their caucus is divided. Leader McConnell and Senate Republicans are the major barrier to preventing us from getting a bill. Because even when Mnuchin calls them up, they say they're not going to do anything. When the American people are suffering, to put this political stunt on the floor a second time is cruel, is harsh, and it shows a complete lack of leadership and caring for the suffering of the American people.
That's right. So there's your stimulus update. Go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. We'll have updates. And look, I'm going to say right now, I'm not going to report on any more stimulus news. I know I said that before, but then the very next day, we actually had stimulus news. So I'm not going to cover this anymore until we actually see a framework or a bill that's about to hit the floor. Other than that, I'm tired of them. I'm tired of this little dog and pony show. If Mitch McConnell gets his way, which by all accounts it looks like he is, we're not going to see anything meaningful until after Election Day. And it might not even be until after these clowns get voted out of office and thrown out at the beginning of January when we have a new Senate takeover. And we might not see a stimulus until January at this rate. With a lack of presidential leadership, calling on the Senate to get something done, we're not going to see a stimulus because all focus right now is on the Supreme Court. That's where we stand on this. So I'm not going to be covering this anymore. You get angry with me, I understand. But and then this will also teach you the lesson too, if you see all these other YouTubers with their phony videos that stimulus is coming today, et cetera, et cetera. Not if Mitch McConnell can help it. So until we have something meaningful, a bill that either comes out of committee, is handed to the Senate for a vote, and is about to become law, I'm not bothering you with this crap anymore. That's the very latest on the stimulus. Meanwhile, the president wants to spend his time, tweeting about 60 Minutes and the interview that he's doing with Leslie Stahl, and they're more concerned with his appearance right now after having stormed out of an interview with 60 Minutes. The president's time right now is preoccupied on Twitter, tweeting about the interview that he did with Leslie Stahl. Literally, that's what he's spending his time with right now. And the sad part is that people aren't even really expecting a stimulus anymore. People are looking, the trust in the American government right now has plummeted to an all-time low to get anything done. Is it any wonder? It's not shocking to me at all. And then, the president likes to surround himself with the most corrupt, unseemly, shady individuals that you could possibly pick from. And that's what everyone's talking about this morning.